This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is presented by the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of the arts.
Today on Arts Weekly, we'll talk music and theater. I'm Melinda Haynes with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Later in the show, J.L. Nave, President and CEO of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic, will join us to discuss the Phil's exciting new season that opens this weekend. But first, Craig Humphrey from the IPFW Department of Theater will tell us how he has updated The Miser, Molière's comic masterpiece, for a modern audience. Welcome, Craig.
Melinda, thank you for having me.
Oh, terrific. Well, I would love to start out by learning what The Miser is about. What makes it a classic?
Well, the fact that it was written by Molière in 1668. He was the best-known playwright in France at the time. This was one of his classic plays. He and his company performed it numerous times, with him actually playing the lead, and became part of the standard repertoire, and we've been producing Molière ever since.
So it was it translated, into English shortly?
Yes, shortly, very soon after its original premiere.
So it's been internationally popular for a very long
for a long time.
And what happens in the story?
Well, The Miser is a story about Harpagon, the miser, a widower with two adult children, who both have found their perfect love. They are ready to get married. And their father, who is a miser, they're always afraid of his decision and what plans he may have. Well, he does have plans, and he has decided to marry the son off to a wealthy widow and the daughter off to a wealthy widower.
Oh, dear.
And it turns out that the young bride he's picked for himself is the young lady that his son is in love with.
Oh dear, so comedy ensues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the daughter is in love with a young man who is seeking his long-lost family, and he's posing as the butler in the household. So, double complications.
Yeah,
there.
so we've got some drama going on just with the intensity of the story, but I bet we're going to see a lot of comedy in this
It is
too.
very funny. It is the one thing I keep saying to people is The Miser is funny.
Yeah.
It's Molière, which everyone thinks has great gravity and weight, but no, it's truly farcical. And very, very funny, and still very timely.
Is it physically
Lots of physical comedy,
well
lots
as
of
the
quick,
language?
witty dialogue as well.
Now, this is set in 1688. Was it written? It was written in 1688.
Written
the original setting for that time
was Paris in 1668. Yes.
And then you have chosen to update it to Paris in the 1920s. Okay,
Yes,
and
yes.
Tell us about the reasoning for that. And
Well, it's twofold. The first reason was I was looking to find a period that would make it a little more accessible. The 1600s in France is one of the most lavish, courtly driven periods in history, and it's the court of Louis XIV, and huge costumes, and the sets would be mammoth. And we were looking for something that would not be so distancing for an audience, that was a little more accessible, but I still needed a sense of a distant time, that it wasn't happening today. So the 1920s made sense for me.
Well, that's a very iconic time period in and of itself.
And that the differences between the younger characters versus the miser, and some of the older characters in the play was very topical in the 20s. That whole idea of the jazz age and flaming youth and breaking all the rules seemed to make sense to me.
Well, so what were the challenges that you encountered as a director to adjusting the time?
It's actually been very easy. There are not a whole lot of direct references in the play to issues that don't make sense anymore. The one thing that, and this is one of the reasons why the 20s worked, there is reference to the coachman and getting the horses ready, And yes, certainly by the 1920s we had cars, but the fact that he is not willing to spend money and made sense that
Almost
he would
makes
still
it funnier.
have it.
Yeah.
Is, yes. So we play with that a little bit. It's actually been fairly easy to make the time changes.
Well, and I understand that this is a new translation.
It is, within the last 10 years, and it was actually translated by one of my former professors at the University of Massachusetts when I was in graduate school.
That's got to be exciting
It
to be
was,
able
yes,
to do that.
To do her work,
And
yes.
so it was, this translation, is, you said about 10 years old?
About 10 years old,
and
yes.
So is this a translation that's now widely used?
It's
Yeah,
actually
for this?
not used as often as I'd like to see it used. And it's very accessible. The language is contemporary, and it works. It's true to Molière's original, but it's in today's language.
And
so.
I'm assuming she knows that you're using it? Or,
Actually, she knows that we are producing
Yes.
it. I don't know if she knows that I'm directing it. But
didn't know she was going to make a guest
Right,
appearance
no.
to see that. Well, do you think that it makes it easier or harder to direct the play when it's taken out of its original form?
in this case, it's been easier because I haven't really had to spend a lot of time working with what was a very definite style of acting in the 1660s. It was one of the things that made it easier, was that we could get away from that declamatory, lots of posing, lots of artificial acting. That was the style when Molière wrote the play. And by setting it in the 20s, it's people can behave more similar to what they do typically. So.
But still
Young
in
actors.
the 20s, you know, still the gay 20s
Yes.
sort of thing, very
Yes.
frivolous, you know, in and of that. Who is in this show? Who's starring
Well,
in this?
in the role of Harpagon, the miser, is Jeff Moore, who's been a longtime theater favorite here in Fort Wayne. And then the rest of the cast are all my students. I have Kirsten Keller as the daughter Elise, and Nathan Garner as the son, Clayant. I have Chase Francis and Haley Bant and Amanda Simpkins, and on and on. It's a cast of 12. So.
Well, and that's terrific that they're all students, because
Yes.
do you always cast students?
We often have a mix. We have community actors and our student actors. We, as a department, have a goal that at least 55% of the cast will be students. But we also feel that it's important for our actors, our student actors, to work with people who aren't students. And we have faculty who act often, and people with a lot of stage experience. That is part of their training.
That's a wonderful experience for them to do that. Now, you are the director and the costume designer for this show. So how do you balance both of these roles?
Well, it's something that I have done numerous times. I'm kind of accustomed to it now, and it's just a question of a lot of pre-planning, and I know that my evenings are going to be tied up in rehearsals, so my days are pretty much devoted to my costume design work. And I have a lot of really good support people, which helps a great deal.
And do you like one of these roles more than the other?
Well, it's interesting. I started in the theater as an actor, as most people in the theater, whatever they do, start as actors, and made the shift into costume design when I went to graduate school.
I see.
And really love that. And then I discovered directing, and I've been directing on a regular basis now for, about 15, 18 years. And I have to say that that's my favorite now, is I do enjoy directing more than anything else. But I still love doing costumes as well.
The costumes, and we've got a few up on the screen, they are just so beautiful.
Thank
I mean,
you.
you have just
Thank
done
you.
a terrific job on these, and I think that it's obvious you love the costume directing. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with these costumes and how they are actually being created.
Well, they are being created in our shop in the Department of Theater at IPFW. We have 4 senior students this year who are all very accomplished, and they've really made a lot of progress. And the costume shop supervisor, Jeannie Pendleton, and I sat down and we decided that it would be a good idea for each of them to take one costume and see it through
Yes.
from beginning to end. And that's what has happened, that we have these 4 ladies are each doing one of the principal female dresses, and from developing the patterns to putting it together. And
Well, they are lavish and colorful, and I mean, I can't wait to see how those are on the stage.
I'm seeing them in progress, and I'm really looking forward to it. Monday night I see them on stage, so that'll be fun.
You just watched all the pieces kind of
Yes.
come together and
Yes.
say, that's my vision. Now, you chose the Miser last fall as the opener for this season.
Right.
You know, so does the show create a mood for the season, or how do you choose your shows?
We typically choose our season addressing a number of things, and we want variety. And one thing we always strive for is a classic piece, whether it's Shakespeare or another classic, such as Moliere, which this play fits that bill. But we also like to open with something that's going to have some impact. So whether it's the musical, which we often open with, or a play like this, where it's big and bold and funny. So that's part of that decision is about opening the season with kind of kicking it off with a bang. So.
And then next you'll be working on Oliver.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to be doing some design
I'll be
for
designing
that as well. So
yes.
have you started working on that?
Actually, tomorrow I find out where we're going on that product. We have our first meeting on that show tomorrow. So.
Well, that's going to be, and that's a collaboration between IPFW and Youth Theater.
And the Youth Theater, yes.
Okay, well, we love all those collaborations
and
and having those kids work.
We'll be performing that down at the Arts United Center downtown, which is great for our students because they get to work in another venue.
Right.
As well.
That's wonderful. Well, if you could tell me where people can get tickets or more information.
Sure. Tickets are available through the IPFW box office, which is located in the Athletics Center. And the phone number is 481-6555. And tickets are on sale now, and they're also on sale online.
Okay, terrific. So
through the IPFW webpage, there's a link to it there. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being here, Craig.
Thank you for having me.
We will look forward to opening night of the Miser, September 28th.
September 28th, yes.
While we prepare for our next guest, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what is coming up in our region. We'll be right back with J.L. Nave of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic to discuss their new season.